welcome back. It's the story we are tracking this afternoon, possibly the big story of the day. That secret ballot to elect the Speaker of the National Assembly having wrapped up, counting is now underway in Parliament. The ANC's nominated Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula and the DA has put forward Annelie Lotriet. So as we wait for the counting and the results to be announced later, let's analyze the possibilities of what the results may show us with political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Thank you so much for making time, Ntsikelelo. I really appreciate it. Any surprises so far? I mean, we've always known that the ANC was going to nominate Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. The chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, met with the caucus a couple of days ago. The DA did indicate that they would be putting forward a candidate. They announced today that it's Annelie Lotriet. So is it safe to say Nosiviwe is as good as the sixth Speaker of Parliament?
Yeah, I think there is a general unhappiness across the political spectrum. No wonder, for instance, the EFF has walked away from this process, and also the DA has put forward its own candidate in opposition to the name in question. I think on the whole, politics is a numbers game. So I think everything is going to go according to plan for the ANC. But I think this begs the question whether or not we don't need to have a mixed bag of an electoral system in the country, whereby, for instance, even citizens will have maximum participation when it comes to decisions of this magnitude, simply because democracy, after all, is about government of the people, by the people, and for the people, as opposed to having a name being imposed on citizens like this.
So should then the focus be on changing that political system as opposed to try and challenge the processes that are unfolding for Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula to possibly be the next speaker? And I'm speaking in the context of the letter that Eric Mabuza sent to Parliament on behalf of some individuals, on behalf of certain groups as well, certain organizations, where they were raising concerns about the processes leading up to where Parliament is now and the constitutional challenges that they think will exist should Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula be elected Speaker.
Look, in order to have a flourishing democracy, you need a strong civil society. So it's good to have, civic organizations opposing the way things are in Parliament. That maybe it could have been better if a right person was put forward, because this one leaves much to be desired. But at the same time, I don't think that move is going to achieve its intended objective, simply because at the end of the day, politics is a numbers game. So the ANC has the numbers, and I think everything will go according to plan for them. But I think in future, maybe if we want a way out of this, we need to refine the electoral system that we have, and maybe have a bit of both, first past the post alongside the PR system. Because I think even if civil society, for instance, takes the process on review, I don't think that they stand a good chance of winning this process.
Yeah, especially because our current political system allows, right, for such a process to unfold in the way that it's unfolded. And I mean, we can make, and we've made noise before. A lot of people have made noise about the choices the ANC has gone for when you talk about cabinet posts. I mean, I was just going through the list of some of the committee chairpersons in Parliament. We're talking people like Mosebenzi Zwane. We're talking people like Faith Mutambi. So concerns have already been raised about the choices that the ANC would put forward to hold these key positions. But that's what the current political system allows. I want to ask you about the repercussions of Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula sitting on that powerful position of Speaker of Parliament. This is the third arm of the state. How do you think she's going to manage the rejection and also just the hesitance around her election? The EFF is not participating today. The DA has made it clear that she is not fit for the post. The organizations that have also said she's not the right person for the job. Do you think she's going to get the necessary respect that other political parties, even though they disagreed with their opponents, but would often afford a speaker?
No, of course not. She will not get the support that is needed for her to get the job done. But at the same time, I think this will not have a negative impact on the electoral performance of the ANC, because by and large, the support of the ANC is in rural areas and in black townships. So I don't think that base will be affected by this. Of course, I think maybe in urban centers, the support of the ANC might shrink, but I don't think that this will have a negative impact on maybe the democratic outcomes of local government. But I think you are correct to say that some members of Parliament will cast aspersions on her capabilities in terms of executing her duties as a speaker. I think the view that is held by a lot of people is that this is a person who could not get the job done as a former minister. Therefore, there is no way whatsoever that she can do her work properly, given the fact that she fell short while she had the position of the Minister of
Defense.
Defense.
The conflict of interest, that's another issue here. We are learning today that there is an investigation that's currently underway by the Joint Committee in Parliament, and they are investigating allegations that the former minister received bribes totaling 5 million rand, received gifts such as wigs, and even blowing about 7 million rand on aircraft charters. Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Defence has appointed a task team to investigate the allegations against her, and this started 2 months ago. It's going to be a tricky one, right? Because I mean, at some point, the matter is going to come before Parliament, and, you know, she would have to consider how the report, right, into her conduct must be processed by the National Assembly. How tricky do you think that's going to be when we deal with issues of conflict of interest, even including the inquiry about how law enforcement agencies responded to the recent unrest? I mean, she's part of the security cluster. She was sitting on the Security Council. So she will also be probed, her role and her department's role. Is that going to be tricky, or do you think there's a way that issue could be handled?
Yeah, I think this has really cast aspersions on the ANC, whether it is serious or not in waging a war against corruption. Because on the one hand, you have a president that ascended to power on a ticket of good governance. On the other hand, he chooses people who are questionable. But at the same time, I think it's still early days, though. Maybe let's give her the benefit of the doubt. But I think definitely this it does paint a wrong picture about the ANC. And I think opposition parties will take a strategic advantage about this situation and take a strong swipe against the ruling party.
Yeah. The shock that people had, and Ntsikelelo, as you wrap, do you think some of us were probably being naive by being as shocked as we were about this nomination by the ANC of Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, especially given the context that there are so many questionable people that have been appointed in high positions, whether you talk cabinet or in the legislature, or do you think what the reaction we are seeing is because of the powerful position that this Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula will be occupying as Speaker, and that's why people are quite concerned and are now not only expressing, and not so much shock, but they're saying the ANC this time around has gone too far?
You know what? I think the beauty about this is that on the one hand, even the ANC itself, in some quarters within the party, there is a sense of discontent about the fact that this name was imposed on the caucus, that there was no space that was created for members of the caucus to articulate their views. Weremantash, or the chairperson of the ANC, basically just bulldozed, the democratic processes. So on the one hand, I think there is that appreciation. On the other hand, I think also ANC members are well aware about the fact that ANC has this Leninist organizational model of doing things, namely democratic centralism, that a decision that is made by the highest decision-making body of the party, all and sundry must abide by that decision. Failing to do so, that can be regarded as being ill-disciplined. So I don't think that some people might want to betray the leadership of the ANC by doing the exact opposite of that, because even though they have voted in private, but some of these things, they get leaked. I mean, you know about the story of Anekom, even though he voted in private, but now we know how he voted. So some people who didn't want to put their careers into jeopardy.
Yeah. Look, Ntsikelelo, thank you so much. Thank you for your analysis, political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast, chatting to us there about the counting that is currently underway, the implications of Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula possibly, and it looks like in all likelihood she will emerge as the 6th Speaker of Parliament. What the implications are, issues of conflict of interest, and of course the respect that members of Parliament afford to the Speaker of the House. How is it going to be now that she is facing such resistance, not only from members of Parliament, some of them in the political parties, but from people outside of Parliament?